tell. I'm losing you. You're my everything. We have Mr. Maestro himself, Mr. Cornelius Grant of the Temptations. Give it to him.
It's the all-new Valley Gold with Debórah. This is the show that brings you the stars, the stories, and the performances. You'll see familiar faces, and you'll get to learn more about how they do what they do. So stay tuned. Debórah has great features in store for you on the all-new Valley Gold with Debórah.
Coming one night only, Wednesday, May 1st, to the Dior Performing Arts Center in downtown Youngstown, it's the Dionne Warwick-Lou Rawls Tribute Concert. A dazzling concert of the timeless hits by Dionne Warwick and Lou Rawls, performed live by Deborah Benton and Leonard Julian with the Walt Barnes Jr. Band. Tickets on sale now at the Dior box office. One night only, the Dionne Warwick-Lou Rawls Tribute Concert. One night only.
Special delivery. That's what each newborn baby is in the hands of your team in the village. Dr. Rodney Hill and his professional staff of nurse practitioners, conveniently located on 5th Avenue in Youngstown, open weekdays and Saturdays. Excellent prenatal care is what helps ensure a healthy baby. So for the best women's health, reproductive and prenatal care, you'll want to be in the hands of Dr. Rodney Hill and Mama Carol. They're your team in the village, where every delivery is special. We have the great honor, the esteemed privilege of having the great Cornelius Grant in our studio with us today. This is an exciting moment for me as well.
Oh, thank you for having me, Debórah. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
And Ohioans should know that this gentleman does not usually travel east this time of year. We're in the just approaching winter, so this is quite a privilege for us.
Well, that's because I informed her earlier in the year that I don't come east after October. So that's because I spent many years in Detroit, you know, and in the winter months, after October, it's usually really, really bad. So I'm a California native right now. So after October, I usually don't fly east, but Debórah is very persistent, as y'all know. So I had to make the flight in. But I'm glad I came. It's been great.
So we're going to talk about your early days in Motown. When you started off, I understand you started with Marvin Gaye.
No, I started with Mary Wells.
I'm sorry. And how did you meet Mary?
Well, it's an odd thing. I was playing locally with a band.
And I should add that you play the guitar.
I did play guitar once upon a time. And much like this band here, these guys are really, really great. But one morning, Hank Cosby, who was a Motown producer, who substituted in the band that I played with quite often. He played saxophone. And sometimes our saxophone player would get juiced. And so Hank would come in and substitute. And so a quick story about Hank. One night we were between shows, he was writing this arrangement in pencil. And I came over and asked him, "What are you writing?" He said, "I'm doing an arrangement for a tune that we're recording tomorrow." And I looked at the title of the arrangement, and it was Hitchhike.
Oh, wow.
And I laughed about it. I was like, what kind of hitchhike? He said, oh man, he said, you should hear this song. It's gonna be great. You know, and I sort of laughed. I said, I've never heard of a song called Hitchhike. That's kind of weird, you know. Anyway, they cut Hitchhike, and you know, the rest is history.
Hitchhike.
But one morning, I got a call from him, and he said, what are you doing? And I said, well, you know, I'm just chilling. He said, well, get your guitar quickly and come down to the studio, because Mary Wells' guitar player is going in the Army, and you're good enough to get that gig. So I said, okay, I'll come out and try it. So he told me to ask for Benny Benjamin when I got to the studio, which, if y'all know the Funk Brother history, Benny Benjamin was he was really the one that set the Motown sound with the drums, those pickups and everything. So I went and auditioned for Benny Benjamin, and got the gig, and the rest was history. I went to Mary Wells, and then from Mary Wells I went to Marvin Gaye.
So what were some of the numbers that you did with Mary that became hits?
Two Lovers, you know, You Beat Me to the Punch.
We know all those songs.
You know, all those kind of songs, yeah. And then I went to Marvin Gaye. I took up with Marvin, and one of the reasons that I had got to, what do you call the, inspiration, I should say, to conduct came about because Marvin said to me, I need a guitar player and I need a conductor.
So you had never conducted up to this point?
Never conducted a band. As a matter of fact, my reading was, I was spelling at that time. And I didn't do arrangements or any of that. I learned arranging while I was with the Temptations. So, he said, I can't pay both, so you're it.
Two hats.
Two hats. And I bucked, you know, at it at first because I didn't want to do that. And he said, well, it's very simple. If you want the gig, that's what you have to do. So I had to do a crash course in, you know, conducting the band, learn how to cut the band off and count the tempos off on the songs and that kind of thing. But as a result of that experience, it was kind of a natural transition when I got with the Temptations group. So,
because you had...
Yeah, I had the experience.
So now, tell us this. I've read a lot of information about Marvin Gaye and, you know, read things that he was a very temperamental artist. What was he like to work with?
Total genius. I only wish he had lived long enough for everybody to be privy to his total talents. He was a prolific drummer, pianist, singer, songwriter, producer. He was all of it, all in one.
How did he work with the musicians? Was he very freewheeling, or was he controlling, or did he kind of sample on each of the instruments to show you what he wanted? You know, how did he communicate his vision for a song to you?
Well, as I said, he played most of the instruments, so he could sit at the piano and really convey his idea very prolifically to an arranger or at that time, the Funk Brothers, the rhythm section. So most of the things that he wrote, he really did have a direct hand in composing the music and everything. A lot of the producers, believe it or not, didn't do very much of the actual composing of the music. The Funk Brothers, and have you seen the Standing in the Shadows movie? Well, the Funk Brothers were very, very good at creating a lot of the music that you've heard over the years.
The Debórah Show is brought to you in part by L.E. Black Phillips and Holden Funeral Home, honoring the legacy of life. Trust, dignity, and peace of mind. These are the qualities you look for when planning the memorial service of a loved one. L.E. Black Phillips and Holden Funeral Home is the name families have come to rely on for pre-need planning, grief support, financial guidance, and compassion during life's most difficult time. Located at 1951 McGuffey Road in Youngstown, in the time of need, it's L.E. Black Phillips and Holden Funeral Home, still caring for the memories most cherished by you.
Coming one night only, Wednesday, May 1st, to the Dior Performing Arts Center in downtown Youngstown, it's the Dionne Warwick-Lou Rawls Tribute Concert. A dazzling concert of the timeless hits by Dionne Warwick and Lou Rawls, performed live by Deborah Benton and Leonard Julian with the Walt Barnes Jr. Band. Tickets on sale now at the Dior box office. One night only, the Dionne Warwick-Lou Rawls Tribute Concert. One night only.
special delivery. That's what each newborn baby is in the hands of your team in the village. Dr. Rodney Hill and his professional staff of nurse practitioners, conveniently located on 5th Avenue in Youngstown, open weekdays and Saturdays. Excellent prenatal care is what helps ensure a healthy baby. So for the best women's health, reproductive and prenatal care, you'll want to be in the hands of Dr. Rodney Hill and Mama Carol. They're your team in the village where every delivery is special.
I understand you had an interesting story on how you went with the Temptations.
Well, there's a film that a lot of you will probably see because I heard that some of the Motown live shows have been released. But on one of those films, you'll see the Temptations singing backup for Mary Wells because they spent about 4 years at Motown before they got a hit record. So
and most people don't know that they did backup for Mary, do they?
Not very many. I'm revealing something here that you might not be happy about, but it's a fact. And so while I was working with Mary, we opened in a club in Brooklyn, New York, and they were flown in to not only sing backup but also to do an opening spot on our show. So they came in, they did the opening spot. They didn't have a guitar player, so I played for them, doing their show. After the show, Paul Williams called me in the dressing room.
What an opportunity.
And, I didn't think much of it at the time because they didn't have a hit record, But he did say to me, he said, listen, when we get a hit record, I don't care where you are or what you're doing, you're coming with us. And we sort of laughed it off, that kind of a thing, gave it to the five and everything. And I didn't think very much of it. And went from there to Marvin Gaye. And then I'd been with Marvin for just over a year. And then The Way You Do the Things You Do came out. So.
And that was their first hit?
That was the first hit. At the very beginning, I was considered the sixth member. That's why a lot of the early pictures, you'll see I'm dressed in the uniform like the rest of the guys.
He was kind of cute, too.
I had hair also. But it gave me a chance to really share in the creativity of the group. And so I enjoyed that,
Speaking of your creativity with the group, you produced some hits with them as well. And your first one was You Got to Earn It?
Right. That was the first release that I got on the group. And I thought I was off and running, boy. I was like, I got a release. You Got to Earn It was, I had done part of the song. And we were on our way out of town. We used to leave in a station wagon with all our equipment and uniforms on top of the station wagon.
Oh my goodness.
And the six of us rode inside of the station wagon.
All over the country, huh?
All over the country. And so we were about to leave, and I came in the studio. We were out front of Hitsville. Came in the studio, and Smokey said, you got any songs? And I said, well, I'm working on this one song, but I need to finish it. So by the time I get back off this, off this little tour, I'll have it. He said, well, show me what it is, And I said, Smokey, it's only like a couple of stanzas, He said, bring it in. So I ran out to the car, got this little sheet of paper with like 2 stanzas of the song on it, and brought it and gave it to him. And he looked, he says, okay. I said, well, I'll finish it when I get, I'll have it finished when I get back. But when I got back, he had finished the song and cut the track.
Are you kidding? I take it he liked the song.
Yeah, I think he liked it. Because it was kind of, if you listen to the song, it kind of follows his style of rhyme scheme,
So now, when you were at Motown and at Hitsville, give us an inside look of what a typical day, with all the different artists there, what a typical day was like.
Well, you've probably read stories that Barry sort of ran the company like he had some experience at the plant, the car plant, and it was that kind of a thing. It's like for the musicians, it came to be just like punching the clock. They would punch a clock, come in at a certain time in the morning, and they sat in the studio. They call it the snake pit, and they sat in that studio all day long, and the various writers and producers would come in with their ideas. Like sometimes they came in with a chord sheet, and they would come in, and they'd have like a time slot. For example, let's say if one producer had a 3-hour a time slot. So often he would come in the first, say, 30 minutes to an hour was given to those guys, the Funk Brothers, to work out, you know, the various bass lines and the guitar licks and all that kind of stuff.
For that particular producer's music.
Right. And then the next couple of hours was laying down, you know, tracks, you know, until it was perfected. And it would be one producer after the other.
Would it be basically the same musicians?
Same musicians.
Oh my goodness! So I guess those guys really
Oh,
put in
absolutely.
some time.
They never, even the movie has not given them the recognition that they deserve, because those guys made billions of dollars worth of music, and a lot of it they created themselves. You know, but those were the times, you know. The Hitsville was a nerve center, and the singers, the musicians, producers, it was like a home to us, you know. And Barry was smart enough to have various rooms that, say, a songwriter could go in and he could work on this song on the piano, and he could put it together. And he had a staff of people. So if a songwriter came up with a good idea, and he wanted a chord sheet done, like a lot of the writers couldn't write, you know, music, couldn't even do chord sheets. So they would call in one of the arranger guys and sort of play it out. The arranger guy would lay out a chord sheet, and then the guy would take the chord sheet and he would take it down to the studio, give it to the Funk Brothers, and then they would create the music that you heard on the record.
What a history.
Well, the place was such a nerve center that whenever any artist or musician went out of town on a tour, when you came back into Detroit, the first stop that you made was a Hitsville before you went home. Wow. That was the first stop, because it was always, you wanted to know who had the, you know, it was very competitive, you know, so you wanted to know who was about to get the next release, you know, who was working on what everybody considered to be the next hit, you know. So we all stopped at Hitsville as our first stop before we went home when we came from out of town.
Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to hear more about the life of Mr. Cornelius Grant. Right back after this.
Coming soon, Youngstown Park and Recreation Department presents the Yo Spotlight Summer Series 2024. Free outdoor concerts every Wednesday at the Spring Commons Park in downtown Youngstown. If you're a vendor or a performer, contact the Parks Department to find out how you can get involved. Email us at yospotlightconcerts@gmail.com. yospotlightconcerts@gmail.com.
Coming one night only, Wednesday, May 1st, to the Dior Performing Arts Center in downtown Youngstown, it's the Dionne Warwick Lou Rawls Tribute Concert. A dazzling concert of the timeless hits by Dionne Warwick and Lou Rawls, performed live by Debórah Benton and Leonard Julian with the Walt Barnes Jr. Band. Tickets on sale now at the Dior box office. One night only, the Dionne Warwick Lou Rawls Tribute Concert. One night only.
With Mr. Cornelius Grant, Motown legend, and now my guest today. We were talking about how you started off in Motown and Hitsville, and you've given us a synopsis of a day in the life at Hitsville. Now, when you were with the Temptations, you all developed, you know, this tremendous camaraderie, I understand. And I'd like to know what it was like to see the different ones transition out of the group, whether it was through conflict or just whatever the reason was. You know, what was it like watching basically family members break away and even ultimately losing them?
It was devastating, actually, because we really were like family. We were like family. When you spend that much time together, and as I said on an earlier show, we used to work like 50 weeks out of a year. And so we're together all the time, you know. So losing a member of the group, whether it was through death or through any other means, well, it's just like losing a family member.
You talked about a tremendous lesson that you learned. You shared this with me earlier, a tremendous lesson that you learned in terms of show business when David Ruffin transitioned out of the group?
Oh, that story. Well, to condense it all, David had been voted out of the group because of some conflicts. And so at that time, being sort of like a sixth member and having a lot of input in the group, I suggested that we sort of just tear everything down, go back to Detroit, and just kind of like start over. And there was a person in the meeting with the group that was part of the Motown executive influence. So he invited me out of the room, and I went down to his suite, and he said to me, okay, I don't want you to influence the guys about stopping what we're doing. He said, because 6 months from now, they won't know who David Ruffin is. So to me, that was really out of school, because, David was such an integral part of the group at that time. I just felt that the group really wasn't going to function that well without David. So to sum it all up, about 9 months later, we were working in a theater. I came outside of the theater, and usually there were a lot of people out to get autographs and that kind of thing. So there was a kid that brought a program book for me to autograph. So he gave me a pencil, and I was starting to autograph this book. And as I was writing, I asked him his name, and I was writing, he said, why aren't you guys doing It's Growing? Oh. And I was writing, I said, well, since David left, and he said, who's David? So that was my first real lesson about this business. And that's why I always tell young groups, nobody is indispensable. So if you're having a problem, get rid of the problem immediately.
Wow. Good advice. We're kind of getting close on time. I want to touch on what you're doing now, because you are a fantastic entrepreneur, and it seems like everybody out in California knows something about Cornelius Grant. Yeah. You're one of those kind of people who, if the person doesn't know you directly, they know you indirectly, that so he's like 6 degrees removed from everybody. Let's talk about what you're doing now.
Well, I've turned from musician to DJ. I do an internet radio show that's on my website, and
you can give your website too, and we'll put it on the screen.
Well, my website is www.siegecompany.com. That's SIEGECOMPANY, siegecompany.com. Remember I before E. And I'm also in the process of compiling a syndicated radio show, which is a 2-hour show, and it's going to be called Behind the Scenes Old School Jam. All right. And one of the reasons for that is to make sure we keep our music alive, and I have a segment on the show, 2 segments. One is called The Vault, one is called The Can. The Vault, I play something from back in the day, way back in the day, but The Can is something that I play new and unreleased music. So this gives a chance for new artists to get their music played on the radio.
So new artists coming from anywhere in the country?
Anywhere in the country. Yeah.
Youngstown, you all hearing that? Anywhere in the country?
Yeah. So it gives them a chance to at least get it played. You never know who might be listening. So.
And of course, internet, it's worldwide.
Yeah, internet's worldwide also, yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to really have some fun with Cornelius Grant and the unit.
Trust, dignity, and peace of mind. These are the qualities you look for when planning the memorial service of a loved one. L.E. Black Phillips and Holden Funeral Home is the name families have come to rely on for pre-need planning, grief support, financial guidance, and compassion during life's most difficult time. Located at 1951 McGuffey Road in Youngstown, in the time of need, it's L.E. Black Phillips and Holden Funeral Home, still caring for the memories most cherished by you.
Coming one night only, Wednesday, May 1st, to the Dior Performing Arts Center in downtown Youngstown, it's the Dionne Warwick Lou Rawls Tribute Concert, a dazzling concert of the timeless hits by Dionne Warwick and Lou Rawls, performed live by Deborah Benton and Leonard Julian with the Walt Barnes Jr. Band. Tickets on sale now at the Dior box office. One night only. The Dionne Warwick, Lou Rawls tribute concert. One night only.
Fellas, we're going to do an old Motown favorite, and I think everybody will recognize the song. We're going to do a chorus, and then we're going to take a series of fours and vamp out. All right?
All right.